The vast Golden Plains Wildlife Reserve in Montana stretched endlessly under the golden sun, a sanctuary for many animals that roamed its open grasslands. Among them was a baby elephant named Dakota, who had just started his day, sticking close to his mother as they wandered with the herd. The morning was peaceful, the sun warm, and the creek ahead promised a much-needed respite from the rising heat. For Dakota, the water was his favorite part of the day. The cool, refreshing sensation against his thick coat was a relief, and like any playful young calf, he eagerly stepped forward, ready to splash around. But then, in a split second, his world changed. His small feet slipped on the muddy riverbank, and before he could regain balance, he tumbled forward into the thick sludge. Panic set in immediately. He struggled, kicking and twisting, but the more he fought, the deeper he sank. The mud acted like quicksand, tightening around him, making escape impossible. His frightened cries filled the air, but at first, the herd didn't notice. They continued their routine, unaware of the little calf's desperate fight for survival. It wasn't until they began moving on that his mother realized Dakota wasn't beside her. She turned around frantically, and the rest of the herd followed her gaze. Then they saw him, his small frame barely visible above the thick, clinging mud. In an instant, they rushed to him, forming a protective circle. His mother pressed against him, nudging him, trying to encourage him to push himself free. Other members of the herd stomped at the mud, attempting to create a solid surface for him to climb. But was no use. Dakota remained stuck, his energy fading with every passing moment. The herd let out deep, resonant cries, calling for help in a way that sent haunting echoes across the plains. It was these desperate cries that caught the attention of a team of park rangers patrolling the reserve. At first, they thought it was just the usual sounds of wildlife, but there was something unsettling about the distress in those calls. Acting on instinct, they decided to investigate. As their truck rumbled closer, the herd grew tense. To them, humans were an unknown force, potentially dangerous. As soon as the rangers approached, Dakota's mother and the remaining herd members closed ranks, standing firm between him and the vehicle. Their massive bodies blocked the rangers' view, their determined expressions making it clear that they weren't going to let anything, or anyone, harm the vulnerable calf. The rangers halted at a respectful distance, assessing the situation. Dakota's dark eyes were wide with terror, and his small body trembled with exhaustion. He was barely able to lift his head. A tense standoff followed. The rangers needed to act quickly, but the herd wasn't willing to budge. Minutes stretched into an agonizing impasse. The younger members of the herd, sensing the growing danger, eventually began to retreat. The older elephants hesitated, torn between protecting Dakota and staying with the group. In the end, with great reluctance, they made a heartbreaking decision, one that no mother should have to make. They left him behind. Dakota's mournful cries filled the air as his mother disappeared into the distance. He was alone. With no herd in sight, the rangers jumped into action. They waded through the thick mud, their boots sinking as they fought to reach Dakota. He was too weak to struggle now, his body sagging from exhaustion. The rangers used logs and ropes, trying every technique they could think of, but the mud refused to release its grip. The sun bore down mercilessly, and the baby's breathing grew shallower. Just as hope started to dwindle, one of the rangers had an idea. If they couldn't pull him out, they could change the terrain. They worked together to shift the mud, pushing it away to create a small incline. Then, with one last desperate push, Dakota summoned his remaining strength and began to climb. His legs trembled, his body shook, but inch by inch he made it. And then, finally, he was free. The rangers cheered, but their work wasn't done. Dakota was weak, dehydrated, and most importantly, alone. He lay still, too exhausted to move, his wide eyes darting around in fear. The rangers knew they couldn't leave him like this. Gently, they secured him with a soft rope to keep him from wandering off in his disoriented state. At first, he resisted, thrashing weakly, but his body was too spent. One of the rangers crouched beside him, offering a small bowl of water. Dakota hesitated, sniffing warily, but his thirst overtook his fear. He dipped his nose in and drank deeply. It was a small, fragile moment of trust. Time was running out. The Rangers had to find his herd before nightfall. They drove across the plains, scanning the horizon, Dakota resting in the back of the truck. Then at last they heard it, the distant, unmistakable call of the herd. The elephants had come back. They had been searching for him, too. As soon as the truck stopped, Dakota perked up, his ears twitching toward the familiar sound. Without hesitation, he leaped from the truck, his once weary legs now full of energy. His mother was the first to greet him, rushing forward with a relieved bellow. She nuzzled him with such force that he nearly tumbled over, but this time, it was a welcome fall. The rest of the herd surrounded him, their deep grunts forming a chorus of joy and relief. The Rangers stood back, watching in silence. They had witnessed something truly extraordinary, a testament to resilience, family, and the unwavering bonds that tied them together. As the sun set over the golden plains, Dakota disappeared into the horizon, right where he belonged. A truly heartwarming story, wasn't it? Let me know what you thought in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing stories.